We haven't exactly seen the best news coming out of pretty much anything Microsoft when it comes to gaming over the last couple of years. Not sure how some of the people that are there still have jobs at this point, but we just got the news. Microsoft closes Redfall developer Arcane Austin, Hi-Fi Rush developer Tango Gameworks, and more in devastating cuts at Bethesda. A couple things that are, some of them are getting absorbed into other studios, some are just getting shut down completely. Alpha Dog Studios will also close. Roundhouse Games will be absorbed by Elder Scrolls Online developers ZeniMax Online Studios. And Microsoft didn't say how many staff will lose jobs, but significant layoffs are inevitable. And when you look at everything that's happened with Microsoft, when you look at kind of the failure of this generation of Xbox, it's pretty much guaranteed. Like, we can already say that at this point. This generation of Xbox has failed completely. And now they're doing even more layoffs and closing even more studios. Does not bode well for Microsoft.
That's a lot of studios. What games are we talking about? So Arcane?
Yeah, so Arcane Austin, Alpha Dog Studios, Tango Gameworks, and then Roundhouse Games is basically getting shuttered too. They're going to get some people are going to get absorbed into ZeniMax Online, but you got three studios that are closing completely, and one of them is getting absorbed into somewhere else. Look, here it is. Studio will close with some members of the team joining other studios to work on projects across Bethesda.
Okay.
For Arcane. Roundhouse Games, obviously ZeniMax Online Studios is also under Bethesda's umbrella as well.
These are Bethesda-related studios.
Yeah. Wow. Bethesda also closed their French office, I believe, a week or a couple of weeks ago. I mean, like, and I think it's been a part of this whole larger restructuring, like in general.
So how many jobs? Because we are up to, as of from Q4 last year to Q1 this year, we are well over, I think, 30,000 game jobs cut in AAA. So this is adding how many more?
They've not announced how many actual layoffs there are. This is just like the initial announcement, and who knows how many people might be going other places, but most of those people are probably going to lose their jobs. We don't have an idea of the number yet, though.
Well, none of this is unexpected, right? I don't even think game consumers are surprised at this point either, because AAA has been hemorrhaging personnel since free, easy, low interest rate money, as well as ESG and DEI funding has dried up. And I know that studio heads are telling me that they're scrambling for cash. Some studio heads are even putting money themselves into their own studios to keep them going. And cash is king right now. So if they got nothing in the pipeline that's generating revenue, companies are going to be looking to trim the fat. This is also related to the closing of BlizzCon, by the way. BlizzCon was always a money loser for Blizzard. Extremely expensive show to put on. It was a loss leader, kind of bring the fans in and keep the hype up. And they're not even saying when that show's coming back, which is really concerning.
And it just kind of like the whole entire, we've been dealing with this for years now, it seems like, especially like in a post-COVID world. It just seems like these announcements are coming more often than anybody wants to hear. And these studios just like the budgets are out of control. It's just like in the movie The Business, the budgets are out of control for a lot of these games. Then you have games like Helldivers and Pal World come out that blow the doors off of everything, that have a much smaller budget. It's a weird dynamic that we have right now in the games industry. Holy crap.
I would say it's even more not expected, like because like after the Microsoft purchased Activision in general, like when events like that happen, companies typically go through reorganization, and that's a prime result of it. There's been rumors that Microsoft will be cutting a lot of people. There's been an initial layoff, if you remember.
Yeah.
They fired a bunch of people, like primarily, and that's like the second round. Basically, another element to it, I mean, like just to do a lot of the studios being mismanaged, really. Like we I think a lot of people know that. For example, Arcane had through a very hellish type of the development with the Redfall, right? Like that game. There's been a bunch of articles basically where it's been written that studio never been known for being able to develop a great live ops experiences or those type of the experiences, a purely single player type of the game studio. And there's been like very convoluted and very frustrative inputs from the management about changing the direction and vision of the game like 6 or 7 times, basically running it down to the ground from producers in Bethesda. I think what happened is that a lot of people in senior management had a lot of good ideas. They tried it with a developer who was not qualified for the specific type of the development, and the developer had to pay the price for those experiments at the end of the day, unfortunately.
Well, game teams are too big. I mean, it's really hard to maintain a cohesive vision when you have... The way it's done in AAA is even at Blizzard, which was for a long time everything done in-house, everything all the time. It's now done with satellite studios, right? And you sometimes have 6 or 7 other contracting studios or sub studios all trying to develop the same game. You're talking, 500-600 people for AAA, and to try to maintain a cohesive vision on this, I think they're running into a well-known software problem called the Mythical Man Month, which is mostly for technical programming, but I think it applies to a creative endeavor too, where the more people you add, the less efficiency you get.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so,
Sure.
so you know what I'm talking about. These large teams, 600, 700, a team of 200 can outperform them. And this was always true in the industry. I mean, when we ran BattleNet for the first time, right, Blizzard's online matchmaking service, it blew up and it was huge. And we did it with 3 people to serve millions of customers.
Yeah.
And as we grew the teams, BattleNet became a huge team. We didn't get any more efficiency out of it. It was diminishing return the whole way. And this is a hard lesson that AAA has to learn, is that they can't make games faster or, just by throwing people at it. And I think they're waking up to that now.
How many fake jobs are out there because of the DEI and all of
Yeah.
that? And that's, but I have to imagine, like, it's not like it's isolated to gaming, it's everywhere, but they're creating all these fake jobs because of their DEI bullshit and their diversity initiatives. And it just balloons the budgets even more and creates a lot of these problems where good people, talented people, the people that are actually qualified end up losing their jobs because of that. That's got to be a massive problem.
Identity first. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's a huge layer of fat in these companies of middle management and woke and DEI departments as well. Some companies are affected more than others. Activision and Ubisoft are the most infected with DEI in terms of integration with development. Activision's huge. There's many studios, but depending on the studio you talk to, they have to run stuff through the DEI department before it gets into the game. So that's a huge bottleneck, okay? And then what you have going on in Ubisoft is literally death by 1,000 cuts of DEI emails and DEI seminars that are required that you have to attend. And this is really disheartening to many developers.
It's kind of everywhere. DEI is a huge issue, but it's not like it's a singular issue. It adds up with a bunch of others which are pre-existing to an industry.
Exactly.
And like a lot of fake jobs are just fake jobs. Like think about it this way, like someone goes to the conference, comes up with a good idea in executive corps, right? And then they decide to promote this idea to have another senior vice president who need to have a couple of just vice presidents, and each of these vice presidents needs to have a couple of assistants, right? And it just starts growing exponentially. And all of these people at some points feel like they want to involve in the gaming process, which they don't understand. Like, game development is the same qualification as any professional activity. Like, people learn to develop games in their specific specialty for years, like 10, 15, 20 years, right? And then there is someone who never developed a game before. They just come up with these ideas that they want to involve. Another element is what Graham says, right? That death by the 1,000 cuts, and from the DEI specifically, because you need to approve that with those people before making the decision to implement this feature. You also have a good old legal as well. And you need to check with legal occasionally, and depending from the company, as a developer,
especially for licensed games, right?
Yeah,
like if you got to run everything not just through your legal department, but Star Wars legal department.
What happens is that as a developer, you get into this almost an impossible situation where you're like blocked in almost everything that you do, and before making any move, you need to ask a permission from 5 and 6, not even people, but committees. And committees are well known for just squashing the responsibility, among all of the people who are participants. And this is a very long time before those people will take any decision. And you're like just in a hell of the bureaucracy, which, like any bureaucracy, is interested only in one thing: to preserve the life of the bureaucracy, nothing else. Bureaucracy is never interested in the result.
And I think too, what we're seeing, especially with these big, massive, bloated AAA, studios and developers, you're seeing that the barrier to entry to make a game for just like an indie creator, somebody has an idea, wants to go out there, it's getting lower and lower, the barrier for entry, as well as throw on top of that what we found out with COVID, which was, hey, by going to remote work and by people not going in, it's like, okay, we can make this with people all over the country just doing Zoom calls, and we can make a game that people love instead of these studios that, they're renting out all this square footage in San Francisco or wherever it is, and it's just so much overhead. And I think that's just to add on to all the other stuff that's already kind of dragging these studios down.